Educational games are like, not my favorite things in the world. I mean, I understand the point of them. How else are you gonna get your child excited to learn about the world without throwing Mario into the mix? But oh my god, most educational games are hella boring. However, in my humble opinion, typing games are the only exception to this. Typing games are a subgenre of educational games that started to come up in the late 1980s, starting with Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing, with the main purpose being to teach and develop people's typing skills, which was a great idea seeing as computers were slowly but surely becoming more prominent in households across the world. People needed to learn how to type so they didn't have to spend years pecking at keys just for one document, and these games were going to get them to where they needed to be. What started out as purely educational games soon began to morph into more entertaining attractions, with the rise of parody typing games that focus on fun rather than boring stuff like learning, often fusing the typing gameplay with another genre to craft a unique experience for those open enough to try. I don't know what about them attracts me, to be honest. Could it be that I'm a sucker for unconventional controls? Maybe. Could it be that I enjoy watching myself slowly improve in typing speed and accuracy? Perhaps. Hey man, you wanna watch me speedrun this paragraph?
You wanna see me do it again?
In all seriousness though, I don't really know why I'm interested in these kinds of games, but I thought it would be a cool idea to check out a bunch of typing games and talk about them, so I'm gonna do that. I feel like it's only right to start with one of the most well-known and popular typing games, The Typing of the Dead. Something about killing zombies with keyboards while having Dreamcasts strapped to their bodies just speaks to people, I guess. But yeah, this is a really cool game, though technically not its own game as it's only a modified version of the House of the Dead 2. Although, on the surface, it seems like the exact same game with keyboard controls, there were some pretty cool changes made during the development. A bunch of game modes and minigames were added to help improve your typing speed and accuracy, and a lot of the weapons that the zombies would carry were replaced with comedic items such as giant red hammers and plungers, which is pretty silly, dude. Luckily, there were no major changes to the story or any of the amazing voice acting, which is absolutely perfect the way it is.
James! Amy! Harry! Hey, sorry for all right. What the hell's going on in this city?
Don't know, but it's very similar to the 1998 Imperial case.
That case?
This is some Sonic Adventure level voice acting, and the music being louder than anything really is the cherry on top, which is pretty funny when you realize that Sonic Adventure and the House of the Dead 2 was released a month apart from each other. Like, what the fuck was going on with Sega in the voice acting department at the time? Killing zombies is as easy as typing out a word or short phrase correctly, but the bosses are where things get a bit spicy. Not ghost pepper spicy, but maybe Tabasco sauce spicy. I mean, you're still typing words, that's the whole point of the game, but all the bosses have their own spin on the formula, such as the tower boss, which in the first half you'll be asked questions and you'll have to type the correct answer to do damage. Or when you fight the Hierophant, you can only type when the heart is exposed. It's always nice to switch things up to prevent it from getting stale. Although this kept me from getting bored or frustrated with the game, I ran into a different problem. I played this game on an emulator instead of my Dreamcast because it's easier to record that way and it looks nicer. But little did I know that modern keyboards are a tad bit different from the keyboards of the 90s. And as a result, I couldn't type commas or apostrophes at all, which sucks because towards the end of the game they are everywhere, making it almost impossible to complete. I say almost because if you somehow lucked out on the phrases they give you, I could see someone finishing this game with this handicap, but that wasn't the case for me. This is totally a me problem. Next time I play, I will definitely stop being lazy and hook up my Dreamcast. But yeah, this is a really dope typing game that I would argue is more fun than the original House of the Dead 2, and it would seem like other people agree with me since The Typing of the Dead got 2 other sequels, which are just modifications of other House of the Dead games. If you're curious about the House of the Dead series, you should totally check out L Target's House of the Dead retrospective series. It's pretty dope. After the success of The Typing of the Dead, Sega decided to try giving another arcade shooter a typing game. Lupin III The Shooting was their best candidate. After a short development, Lupin III The Typing hit Japanese arcades. Great name, right? Initially, I thought this game was pretty cool. I got pretty much the same feelings as I had with The Typing of the Dead, even though this game is a bit slower and had shorter levels. Like, really short. A lot of these levels were about 1 to 2 minutes long, and it leaves a lot to be desired, especially when every level is very different from the last, with each one taking place during a different scene from the Lupin III franchise of movies and TV shows. In one level you could be Indiana Jonesing it away from a boulder, and in another you could be slaying vampires like Wesley Snipes. Now, don't get me wrong, I appreciate variety, but this game kinda seems all over the place. If they were gonna make the game more like a compilation, then maybe don't make each level 43 seconds long, please. Anyway, after finishing the game and getting the bad ending because I'm illiterate, I decided to take a look at the original game and, oh my god, it's so much better. First off, there are a bunch of levels that didn't even get carried over to the typing game, and they happen to be the coolest ones. There's a level where you're driving a car and have to weave through city traffic by shooting the left and right sides of the screens to switch lanes, which is a really cool idea that I've never seen done in a light gun game before. But then again, I really don't play them very often, so I'm just talking out of my ass right now. There is also a heist level where you have to collect all the jewelry while avoiding security lasers. I have absolutely no idea why these levels weren't carried over to the typing game, as they're the most interesting of the bunch. Well, at least one gimmick level was brought over. What was once the quick draw level is now guess the katakana word before you get popped. It's okay. I'd rather have the other ones though, or better yet, all of them. There's really no good excuse for a third of the game to be missing, and if anything, this sours my opinion of the game. On top of that, I still can't type commas or apostrophes, and it's driving me mad. If I ever were to replay this game, I would totally play the original light gun version instead. Whereas with The Typing of the Dead, I would choose that over the House of the Dead 2 because it is the complete package and a perfect example of what a typing game should be.
Wow! Amazing! Beautiful! We're doing beautiful work here! That was just great! Let's move on! Now, place your left ring finger in the undulating bug next to your keyboard. Place your left ring finger in the undulating bug. It appears that there has been a glitch in the software. We will have to move on.
So it seems like Sega wasn't the only ones crazy enough to put out a typing game under a successful franchise. Konami thought it was a great idea too. Although it was nowhere near as popular as The Typing of the Dead, it was still an interesting attempt. This is Beatmania Da. If you don't know what Beatmania is, it's one of those rhythm games in arcades that looks almost impossible to play. I'm afraid to play it because it looks like Arthritis the video game to me, but it's really cool to watch others. Anyway, Beatmania DA is a typing version of Beatmania, made to teach children who are fans of the arcade games how to type. Interesting enough, Konami did not have Beatmania, the creators of Beatmania, to develop this. I was totally gonna say that Innis, the developers of Guitar Man, developed this, a game I have done a video on in the past, wink wink, though after a little googling, I'm not so sure anymore. When I looked on the Wikipedia article for Innis Corporation, it says they not only developed Beatmania DA, but also the first sequel and Poppin' Music DA. But when I look on the game's entry on Moby Games, it says that some company I've never heard of developed it, so I don't know what to believe anymore. Beatmania DA is separated into 3 different stages. The first pretty much teaches you the home keys, proper typing posture, and stuff like that for those who have never learned. Or at least that's what I think it's about, judging by the images I see. I have no idea what this guy is saying, but I like his voice and his shades. The second stage is where you're actually taught how to play the game, and the third stage is just a free play mode. This is pretty much the same as every other Beatmania game except there are letters instead of the normal notes you see in the original games. However, there's a new mechanic exclusive to the typing games. During songs, there will be blue bars that show up and they have a hidden word for you to type. You sort of get hints as they pass the bonus lines, but for someone who doesn't know Japanese, this is extremely difficult to get. So eventually I gave up and randomly hit keys and hoped I would get the word. And it worked. Sometimes. This part just makes it a bit difficult to get good scores on songs, not to mention the god-awful hand-eye coordination I have, and the fact that they turned a 5 or 7 button rhythm game into a 26 button rhythm game. It's like my brain stops working and I just mash a bunch of buttons at random until I get one right. My only complaint other than me being terrible at the game is that the tracklist is bare bones. First off, there are only about 10 songs in the whole game, and all of them have a set difficulty level, so some songs are easy while others can only be played on hard. A beginner like me would have a choice of 2 songs to play through until I get good enough to do the others, which is ass. Because of this, it is no surprise that this game was considered lost for over a decade, only for some doof to come across a CD of the game and upload it to the interwebs. In my opinion, this game could have stayed lost. I don't think anyone would really miss it. It's okay for like 15 minutes, and then I realized I'd rather play a good rhythm game instead. But there is another lost game that I would like found if ever possible. So this is the first time on the channel I've talked about a game that I have never played but desperately want to. Pokemon PC Master is technically not a typing game. From what I hear, it has typing lessons and mini-games, but typing is not the main focus. It was primarily developed to help young Japanese children learn how to use personal computers to be able to do stuff like surf the web and jazz like that, throwing in Pokemon and fun games to keep things interesting. Unfortunately, the only way to play this game was through a paid subscription service which was taken down shortly after it went up, and the whole game went with it. Technically, this game is considered partially found as there are CDs with the trial versions on them. I found a disc image for it, but I couldn't get the game to work on my computer, so that makes me very sad. This is probably the most interesting game in the video, yet I'll probably never get a chance to check it out. Although Pokemon PC Master was lost in time, another Nintendo IP also got a typing game and seemed to have the opposite outcome. That's right, I'm talking about the one and only Mario Teaches Typing. There are a bunch of Mario educational games from Mario is Missing to Super Mario Bros. And Friends when I grow up, so I'm not surprised that there's also a typing game or two. Out of all the typing games in this video, this one is the most traditional, because unlike the rest, the game was developed from the ground up as a typing game. And because of this, there isn't really a gimmick or anything to make the game entertaining other than the Mario visuals. I mean, just look at the way Luigi walks. Why is he hunched over like that? There are a few different areas you can type in. The overworld is for learning where all the keys are, and for some reason this part makes me motion sick. I don't know what's up with that. The underwater area is mostly for typing words, and the underground area is for typing complete sentences from various prompts the game has. Nothing says Mario like typing about US history and sports ball. Also, every once in a while a random character will float above your head and it takes you to a special place if you type it fast enough. But I don't get what it's supposed to do if it even does anything at all. This just left me really confused. There's really not much to say about this game, it's really bare bones, and the only thing it has going for it is that Mario's in it. I'm sure that's the only reason it's one of the more popular typing games. I guess it's probably the best game in the video if you actually want to learn how to type, but it's just so boring. Every lesson has a timer, whether it be 2 minutes or 5 minutes, where you type until it runs out. This game somehow makes 5 minutes feel like 20. It's witchcraft, I tell you. Mario Teaches Typing is definitely my least favorite out of the bunch I chose. I had the most fun with the Typing of the Dead, and Beatmania DAW is cool too. I would totally recommend giving those a go. I know I didn't really say anything about David Lynch Teaches Typing, but it's a great 5-minute experience for any David Lynch fan. I just wish it was longer because that impression was spot on. Typing games are mostly a thing of the past, when personal computers were slowly becoming common to have in homes, and children needed a fun way to learn how to type. I don't know what the hell they do nowadays to teach typing because I'm old and shriveled, but I think we should bring back entertaining typing games because they were rad as fuck.